As you can see, the mighty Lake Huron is looking quite mighty today. You might even say there's a bit of a tempest going on out there, which strangely enough brings me to today's cigar. It is the Alec Bradley Tempest. Now, I did say I was going to revisit some Alec Bradley products. This is one I've had before, so I went to my tobacconist. I picked it up, and we're going to take another look at it. Now, the label's kind of messy because I pulled the little brown label off, because I like the good labels. It comes with two bands. It comes with that one and a secondary band. Ooh, fancy. So we can get this. First one came off easy. The secondary one is presenting a bit of a challenge. All right, so upon my first inspection, I will say there is a crack at the foot of the cigar. That could be user error because it has been in my glove box and I've been driving for about an hour and a half. We are going to give this guy a snip and maybe talk a little bit about it. Often these days, I have my cigars already cut by the time I bring them to the car. This time around, I wasn't actually sure I was going to have a cigar while I was out and about, but then when I realized the cigar in the car was the Tempest and the weather was very tempestuous, I thought it'd be interesting to use that. Is that a pun? I don't know. I thought it would be interesting to give it a go. Let's see what we got here. We're going to do the cold draw. I can tell you it's probably going to be a bit of a tight draw on this one. I might want to cut that cap a little bit more. Now, these guys do cost in and around 20 bucks where I live. And right away I'm seeing some hard stems in the back of the cigar. There we go, that draws better now. Yeah, so at around 20 bucks, I don't know. The Alec Bradley Senoritas that I smoke are great for the price, but we're going to see how this one holds up. All right, we got a pretty even light on it, and we're going to see what happens with this bad boy. So it is a tight draw. Not too tight, but a bit tight. My first notes are the cereal notes. I'm getting shreddies, you know. Okay, so, even though it has a lot of those sweeter notes that I like, and a little more, like, sort of like the more mild cigar notes, it is a pretty robust flavor profile. It's wild. And the wind's not even pulling the cigar out of the car. I've got to let it out. Like, it's very windy out there. But I'm in this little cove that kind of has its own little, I don't know if you want to call it a microclimate, but because of all the coves here, the temperature is typically warmer and the winds are like not as predominant in here, but the waves are still wild. It's an interesting thing. I don't really know what it's called, like the phenomenon, but when I was out at the main part down the road, the wind was just killing me. My hands were freezing. It felt like it was nearly 0 degrees. Here, everything's a lot more mild, a lot more calm. A lot of what I was getting in the Senorita, I'm getting in this cigar. Like I said, that like a nice rye bread, you know, shreddies cereal note, but it's all that wrapped up in a bitter note. And that's it's like almost like the barrel bite in a bourbon or a scotch. So this guy is a little more complex than the little Senoritas. I do remember the last time having one of these, having a bad experience and not liking it. I am quite enjoying this one. Now, I am smoking this on the heels of going through some Drew Estate factory smokes. And I will say this costs about twice as much as the Connecticut wrapper factory smoke. And in terms of complexity, they're pretty close. This, I can tell you, is a tighter rolled cigar. There's more tobacco in it. And right off the hop, there is more nicotine in this tobacco. So you got a stronger tobacco, a little more complex flavor profile. Yeah, and, you know, shreddies in the middle, rye bread, a little bit of barrel bitter on the outside. I have a feeling it's going to mostly stay that way all the way through. Obviously, the crack on the foot was not a problem because the burn is pretty nice. See, that's one of the things about a higher quality cigar. You can have like a little imperfection, but the whole cigar will like smoke quite a bit better as long as it's actually rolled properly, like all the way through. And sometimes when you need a cheaper cigar that's poorly rolled, like one imperfection can ruin the whole experience. So at least that's my experience with it. But I am remembering now that I'm halfway through it why I wasn't a big fan of the Alec Bradley cigars. It gets very, very strong partway through. It's a balanced strength, but it's pretty strong in terms of the more bitter flavors. Like a lot more of that sort of barrel bite that you would get in like a bourbon, a lot more of the dark coffee, but like a really dark coffee. Now, I do know why this is a go-to for a lot of people who've been smoking cigars for a long time. Those of you who like a bolder flavor, this is where you're going to want to go for around $20. For me, the bolder flavor's a bit much, but I did want to touch on like one interesting note that I'm kind of getting that I haven't gotten off another cigar. It's almost like a subtle peach rind. Yeah, like the peach skin. Or like an unripe peach that's not terribly sweet, which is, it's not that, but it reminds me of that. So it's not at all a bad cigar. I think it's great for a lot of people. It's just not for me. I have another Alec Bradley I want to come to later and take a look at. But I just figured I'd add sort of I'm reminded now why it wasn't my go-to. But it's also brings me back to why I like the Señoritas. The Señoritas will get a bit of this ultra strength, but right in the end of the cigar, not in the middle of it. And I don't mind it to finish a cigar, but like a half a cigar with these kind of powerful, like boisterous flavors, because they're more in the bitter, they're less in the sweets. It's just not my preferred flavor profile. But quality construction is pretty decent. Smokability is pretty decent. I literally put it, I have like an empty pop can with duct tape on it that I use for my ashtray. I literally let it sit in there, went to a porta potty, came back, thing was still lit, still smoking good. So quality construction, can't really beat it there. You can't really say too much bad about it there. But I know when I come back into the car, it's really, really going to smell like cigar tobacco, whereas a lot of the more mild stuff I smoke, the car smells more like a humidor than burnt tobacco. So this is going to have quite a sticky fragrance that sticks to you. So if you have a spouse that maybe doesn't like the cigar smell on you, understand this one's going to go with you after you're done smoking it. It's not a bad thing for some people. It's not a bad thing at all. Just an observation I'm making. But this time, I really am saying adios. I'm going to show you a little more footage of what's going on with the lake here.